Tonight, you are going to do something that is technically illegal. You are going to escape from the person who legally owns you. Read that sentence again. Legally owns you. Not your labor, not your time, you. Your body, your name, your children, your future, your entire existence on this earth. All of it is someone else's legal property under the laws of the United States of America in 1850. And tonight, with nothing but the clothes on your back and a direction in the sky, you are going to try to take it all back. The odds are not good. There are roughly 4 million enslaved people in America right now. Fewer than 1,000 per year successfully reach freedom. The government has just passed the Fugitive Slave Act, which means that even if you make it to a free state, even if you cross into the north and find a city and disappear into a crowd, any citizen who sees you is now legally required to report you. The entire country is, by law, your enemy. You have no map, no money, no identification, no horse, no weapon.
And you cannot travel by day because every face you pass on a road is a potential bounty hunter who is very motivated by the reward posted for your return. Welcome to the most dangerous journey in American history. Let's talk about how you survive it. Step 1. You need the sky. Before GPS, before compasses were common property, before any of the tools that a modern person takes completely for granted, escaping enslaved people navigated north using a single fixed point in the night sky. The North Star. Polaris. It does not move. Every other star in the northern hemisphere rotates around it across the night, but Polaris sits fixed above the North Pole like a permanent arrow pointing toward freedom. Historian Fergus Bordewich, who spent years documenting the Underground Railroad in his landmark book Bound for Canaan, noted that enslaved people developed an extraordinary oral knowledge of the night sky. Songs like Follow the Drinking Gourd, which sounds like a folk song and is absolutely also a navigation guide, use the shape of the Big Dipper's handle pointing toward Polaris as a memory tool passed between people who were not permitted to read or write. Your ancestors smuggled a compass inside a song. Let that sink in.
You travel only at night. During the day, you sleep in whatever you can find. A ditch, a hollow log, a barn if you're lucky and the owner is sympathetic. You eat whatever you can find without stopping to find it for long. Wild berries, corn stolen from the edges of fields, occasionally nothing at all. Your feet will not be dry for weeks. The distance from the deep south to the Canadian border, because the northern United States is not actually safe after the Fugitive Slave Act, Canada is the real destination, is roughly 1,500 miles. On foot, moving only at night through unfamiliar terrain, this takes months. Months of sleeping in the cold, eating whatever you can find, trusting no one, and listening for the sound of dogs. The dogs are the part that keeps you moving even when your body wants to stop.
Slave catchers used trained bloodhounds that could follow a human scent trail for miles. Your only defenses against them were distance, water, and red pepper. Water disrupts scent trails. Red pepper, rubbed across your path, could confuse the dogs temporarily. These were not guaranteed solutions. These were desperate ones. And the fact that you knew to use them means someone taught you before you left. Someone who had tried before. Someone who had been caught before. Now, you need to find the railroad. The Underground Railroad was not underground, and it was not a railroad. It was a loose, decentralized, extraordinarily dangerous network of free black people, white abolitionists, and formerly enslaved people who maintained a chain of safe houses running from the south to the northern states and into Canada. Historians estimate that somewhere between 40,000 and 100,000 people escaped through its network between 1780 and 1865. The conductors, the people who guided escapees through the network, operated with no salary, no institutional backing, and no protection from the law. Harriet Tubman, who escaped slavery herself in 1849 and then returned to the South 13 times to guide others out, is the most famous conductor in history. She carried a gun, not for protection against slave catchers. She carried it because, in her words, a slave who panicked and turned back put every other person in the network at risk. The gun was a reminder of what was at stake, and reportedly, it was never fired, because nobody turned back. You find a safe house through a code system that sounds, again, like it was designed by someone who understood that information is power. A certain quilt pattern hanging outside a house,
a lantern in a specific window, a knock with a particular rhythm, a phrase exchanged with a stranger on a road that sounds like casual conversation and is absolutely not casual conversation. The safe house might be a barn with a hidden room beneath the floor, a church with a false wall, a wealthy abolitionist cellar in Philadelphia or Cincinnati or Detroit. You sleep in these places for hours or days, fed, rested, given better shoes if available, given a new route to the next station, and then you move again. The psychological toll of this journey is something that historian Eric Foner documented extensively in his study of the Underground Railroad. The constant vigilance, the inability to trust anyone on site, the knowledge that the people helping you are risking imprisonment, violence, and financial ruin to do so. Every person who shelters you is making an active choice to break federal law on your behalf. You are not just running for your life. You are running with the weight of everyone who is helping you carry it. And you carry something else.
You carry the knowledge of what happens if you are caught. The Fugitive Slave Act of 1850 meant that captured escapees were returned immediately to their enslavers, often with additional punishment designed to serve as a warning to others. Escaped people who were caught and returned frequently lost any remaining privileges they had. They were sometimes sold further south, away from any family connections they had maintained. They were made examples of. This is the calculation you are making every night when you step out of a hiding place and start moving north again. Not just what happens to you if you were caught, but what happens to the people who helped you. What happens to the people you left behind? What happens to the idea of freedom itself if you stop? Most people, faced with this calculation, would not move. You move anyway. When you finally cross the border into Canada, possibly at Niagara Falls, possibly at Detroit across a frozen river in winter, possibly at a dozen other crossing points that the conductors knew and the slave catchers watched, something happens that the history books describe but cannot quite capture. You are, for the first time in your life, legally free. Not tolerated, not permitted, not allowed on certain terms. Free. Standing on soil where no law can touch you, where your name belongs to you, where the children you may have, or may one day have, cannot be taken from you by someone with a legal document. The journey from that first night under the North Star to this moment is somewhere between a few weeks and several months, depending on where you started and how many times you had to stop and hide. You have walked through winter. You have slept in mud. You have eaten things that no person should have to eat to survive. You have trusted strangers with your life and been trusted with theirs. You did all of this for something that was yours to begin with. The next time you look up at the night sky and see the North Star, remember that for millions of people in this country, not very long ago, that star was not a curiosity or a navigation aid for camping. It was the only reliable promise in a country that had broken every other one. It was the direction of everything. Your brain just added something new, something it won't forget. That's what this channel is for, one hidden truth at a time. Subscribe so you never miss the next one. And if this made you think differently, drop it in the comments. See you in the next one.